So we're going to go ahead and get started. Hi, I'm Becky Leedy, an associate for Central Library, and I'm filling in for Caitlin Seagraves, who is attending a virtual Oklahoma Library Association conference. And welcome to our weekly Tech Talk program. Today we have Nick Abrahamson, a reference librarian in the Research Center, who will discuss resources for teachers and teach you all about some of the databases we have available for teachers and students. Next week, August 7th at noon, we'll host a Canva 101 class. Canva is an online design tool where you can design posters and other graphics for free. Make sure to check the chat box, and I'll include a link for you to get registered in there. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to submit them to the chat and I will pass them on to Nick. And after the program today, Caitlin will send out an email with a link to this recording and the slides from the program. So keep an eye out in your inbox for that. Let us know if you've enjoyed today's presentation by completing a short "How did we do" form. I'll also include that in the chat box. And let's go ahead and get started. Nick, I'll hand it over to you.
Hello, and thanks for joining us. We're going to go through some of our education databases today, and just so you're aware of kind of the content, this is very similar to the training material we provide for new librarians and kind of refresher and continuing education courses here at the library. I'm on the continuing education and new training team, and I kind of tailored this presentation and these slides from that training content. So what you're getting is very much aligned with how we train librarians to use some of these databases. And with that, I'll go ahead and start. Actually, let me back up a bit and go ahead and if you have any questions, we don't really need to wait till the end. You can just pop in and put a question in the chat, and Becky will let me know. Also, if I need to slow down, let me know. I kind of go through this kind of quickly in person. It's the first time I've done this remotely or virtually, so just let me know if I need to go back and go back over something. I don't mind at all. I'm here for you guys, so whatever you need. If there's anything that isn't clear, we can go over something and go over a part of it in more detail, more comprehensively. As opposed to some of the things that might not be germane to your interests or to your vocations. So with that, let's get started. Sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. I think I just stopped sharing the screen. Okay, so these are some of the databases we're going to go over. I would encourage everyone, if you can, to pull up our database page if you want to go along with me and look at the databases. I'm just doing screenshots, but if you go to tulsalibrary.org, in fact, here, let me toggle to that and I can show you where to go. So tulsalibrary.org, and then you're going to go to research, and then databases. And then you can either scroll down through the whole list or jump around alphabetically up here.
Nick, I can't see your screen on the website.
Okay.
Could everyone else weigh in to let us know if you can see the screen?
How's that?
Perfect.
Okay. Sorry about that. So yeah, this is the database page. If you go to tulsalibrary.org and then go to research and then scroll down so you see the stack of books and click on databases, you can follow along with me there. If you want to take a look at some of the features of the database or how the interface looks that might be different from the screenshots that I'm sharing in the slide deck. So here's, like I said, here's kind of a list of the databases we're going to quickly go through, some are more in-depth than others. And I also kind of created a chart that shows the utility of each database. This also kind of represents, I'm going to kind of show it more reflectively in the next slide that these databases are not prescriptive, meaning that they all have different uses. If Explorer on here is checked under primary and secondary education, that doesn't mean that you cannot find primary sources or use it for scholarship, even adult learning. I just checked and I'm just identifying what I determined to be the primary purposes and functions of each database. But I do want to stress that these are very versatile databases that can serve a variety of needs and information needs. So if there's a feature, something on one of the databases that is a little bit different than what I'm identifying here, we can certainly go through it and take a deeper look. Again, this is just kind of illustrate, there are a lot of crossover in our databases, and as we go through, I'm identifying 3 major categories, and that's how we're going to kind of structure this presentation, the slide deck. We're going to go through adult and career learning, scholarship, which is higher ed, community college, postgraduate research. And then we have primary and secondary education, that's K through 12, and then primary source resources. So I know that in the curriculum standards, there's several grades that require students to identify and use primary source materials in their research. So we're going to go through some of that and kind of show educators and what their students can use through our databases. So we're going to start with scholarship. Through the scholarship, synonymously, I mean higher education, college, maybe peer-reviewed resources. So we're going to look at EBSCO databases, and under that umbrella, EBSCO is a platform of several databases. So under EBSCO, we're going to look at the academic search, ERIC, and topic search, and we'll also look at IssueLab, PubMed, and ToxNet. So this is IssueLab. IssueLab is created as an aggregate and to preserve research outputs, evaluations, and practical resources, such as organized annual reports from social sector organizations. Down below, you can see the inclusion criteria, so you know that the information is credible. It must be published by a social sector organization, foundation, or academic research center. Must be free and accessible to the public. Work must be data-driven. This is really important as far as credibility and authoritative resources go. Whether it's qualitative or quantitative opinion pieces, press releases, blog posts, brochures, those are not inclusive in their inclusion criteria. And then work also must include complete citations and resources. And I'm going to toggle back to that database if we want to look at it, just kind of what the interface looks like. This is just kind of the about page. So this is what it looks like. There are different issue areas that you can look at. A lot of these encompass topics that are germane to higher education classes and coursework, as well as high school level, maybe AP courses, AP students, they could use this as well. Now, if you look at the collection piece, module, you can see different special collections on here. There's a gun violence special collection, and most of the content information under these special collections are from think tanks, NGOs, research centers at universities. So you know that they're going to be credible, reputable sources. Oh, sorry. I kind of went through this, but IssueLab was created to aggregate and preserve research outputs. A small portion of the content is after it's published on IssueLab, it's formally published, which means it's reviewed by peers of the author, and usually in many cases, the author needs to defend the work on a panel. Vast majority of collected are self-published through organizational websites, and then resources are from organizations around the world. So there's a very holistic aggregate information aggregation under IssueLab. You're gonna get a lot of different viewpoints, and it's not gonna be localized to just the United States. Here we have Academic Search Premier. Many students and currently, and perhaps perhaps you may remember the interface of an EBSCO database, they all look pretty similar. However, if you look at publications up at the top, Academic Search Premier is going to aggregate different publications from ERIC or Topic Search, even though the interface is going to look exactly the same. So up here you have a publication list. You can look at that. Let's see if I can move that around. There we go. You can, under there, you can look at what publications are included when you're using a search on this interface or on this database. And I also encourage our staff to utilize the subject terms. Subject terms are its internal vocabulary. So instead of just kind of, putting anything in the search bar and hoping that the database recognizes it, if you use subject terms, that's going to be what drives the search within the database. So like I said, I encourage our users and staff to use subject terms. You're going to get a much more precise and narrow scope of what you're looking for. It's not going to be, you may not get 5,000 different results. You may get 250 or so. So it's going to save you time, and it's going to really yield the results that you're looking for when you use a subject term facet. Over here, you can limit your results to scholarly and peer-reviewed journals, full text. Over here, you can do different publication types, periodicals, newspapers, books. Under publications, ebooks there are some ebooks included in this database. So if you're looking for something very specific rather than casting a wide net, I would encourage you to use these facets down here. All right. Let's look. We'll go back to PubMed and ToxNet. Those aren't oft used here at TCCL. They're very customized and granular information, health information. But we'll go and under adult learning, we'll look at some of that at the database itself. So now we're going to go to primary source resources. So a couple of these are newspapers. As you may be aware, primary sources are sources that were published at the time of a historical event. And then we have issues and controversies and mass ultra complete. So again, down here, I kind of define as a reminder what primary source is. It's a person, document, or account relating direct experience from the time period under study. For an example, an eyewitness report or a newspaper article, rather than a later recapitulation of the event. And the sciences of primary source is the original publication of new data, research or theories by the individual producing the data, conducting the research, or formulating the theory. And that gets kind of muddied when you look at scientific journals, because many times, research and scholarship is kind of a conversation. So you're always building upon things. So if you're looking at scientific journals and you see, if you see an article, a lot of the references and sources are integrated, that data is integrated into the primary article. So it's a little bit harder to determine in the sciences, but if you have any questions about that, I'm happy to elaborate. All right, here we have issues and controversies. I love this database. It's a facts on file product. There are many different modules and tools you can use on this. We're going to come back to this when we go to primary and secondary education, but for primary source material, it's just right there in front of you. You can click that. Let let's take a look at the database real quick just so you can see what the page looks like after that. So here we have analyzing historical documents, understanding primary and secondary sources. It kind of gives you a brief overview, and then you can kind of dive deeper into their collection using the search bar. All right, this is MAS Ultra and Complete. It's a little bit more geared for secondary education, high school students, middle school students. But up here, again, you have the publications. You do a subject search. This is a subject search rather than subject terms used in the other one. I'm sorry, the other EBSCO database we looked at. So it's going to be a little bit different there. And again, the publications aggregated here are going to be very much different from when we looked at Academic Search Premier. That database is for the social sciences and humanities and higher education. This, like I said, is it's a little bit more focused on high school, middle school students. But down here, you can go to publication type, look at the primary, you can limit your results by primary source document. And then further down, I didn't capture it all in the screenshot, but you can go to Lexile reading level. So if you're helping a ninth grader, or let's use a seventh grader as an example, you want to yield results that are apropos for that student's reading level. It wouldn't really benefit the student if you pulled up a bunch of articles that read at a university or higher ed level, or perhaps even due to special differentiated learning styles. Maybe if a seventh grader, maybe a ninth or 10th grade reading level is too advanced. So that really will help you find articles that are most suitable for your audience or for your students if you're helping students. And we're going to look at Tulsa World and New York Times, just the database itself. It's a little bit easier to conceptualize all the different facets and search tools on there. So again, under research databases, we can go to T for Tulsa World. And what you'll find on Tulsa World is Tulsa World Digital Archive is not indexed prior to 1989. So if you're looking for an article prior to 1989, you'll need to use the microfilm here at Central Library, or given our present circumstances, to request a research by one of our research librarians. If you have a date or a historical event in mind, then we can find that if it's prior to 1989. However, from 89 to the present, you can use a search. You can use the search bar up here. You can browse by release date. You can go to advanced search, and you'll see other more advanced search tool options down here. Waiting for it to populate. There we go. So you can search by Boolean search tools up here. Those are the and, not, or search techniques, and then you can limit it by date as well. All right, so moving right along, we're going to go to primary and secondary education. This is what I think this has some of the most utility and benefit for our educators, because there are, aside from helping these resources helping students, there are tools for educators as well. And when I say tools for educators, I mean like lesson plans, curriculum standards, things that will really help teachers kind of put together coursework in their classrooms, as well as their evaluations and assessments, handouts, things like that. So these are the different databases we'll look at under this umbrella. First is ELibrary. ELibrary is a great resource for maybe debate students, or if you're doing a persuasive argument paper. It gives you topics down here, common assignments. Under the advanced search, you can kind of delve further into this. But there are trending topics as well as kind of more of a general subject search down here. So if a student is looking for topics to write about, ELibrary is a good place to start for them. And this is under Black Lives Matter, an ELibrary topic. So if a student wants to do a paper on the current events, then this kind of provides a pretty good encapsulation of the Black Lives Matter movement, as well as social issues and events that have led to this movement. Down here you have articles, and the articles aggregated here are credible and from trusted sources. You can see Journal of Public Health, Washington Post, Chicago Tribune. You have opinion pieces on blacklivesmatter.com, but then those are accompanied and buttressed by other kind of more authoritative sources as well. Here you have primary search. Again, an EBSCO product. Looks just like some of the other EBSCO interfaces. You're going to have a dictionary here. That's going to be your internal vocabulary for search terms. And I kind of used an ambiguous one here, bugs. This could be, computer glitches, could be insects. So that's kind of a good example of why maybe you want to use the internal dictionary to get a more precise search yield from what you're looking for, And again, down here, if you look at some of the facets, you can see that we have publication types, many different, I remember many different assignments, and I believe this is still true under with Oklahoma curriculum standards, that when students are to present reports or turn in essays and such, they need different source material. So under publication, a student can look at almanacs, books, articles, and that way it's kind of a one-stop clearinghouse for all the different resources that a student may need to put together an assignment. And again, you have Lexile Reading Score. If you're an educator or a parent, this might help you kind of find material that's most suitable for your child's learning path, as well as maybe their what grade they're in and their reading level. This is GVRL. It stands for Gale Virtual Reference Library, although I believe the name recently changed to Gale eBooks. But this is a collection of different ebooks that are considered public domain, or that Gale purchased the copyrights to, so you don't have to worry about any copyright infringement. That's not to say that students can still plagiarize, so that's a different issue entirely, but the copyright, you won't have to worry about sourcing copyright law or anything like that. I know that that's kind of a concern sometimes with ebooks when you're using those. So under advanced search, you can go to subject guide search. And this will provide a whole different array of different topics and subjects for students to choose from, or for educators to kind of look at to see what sort of assignments to create that align with the curriculum. And then down here you have selected audience, and that's compartmentalized by grade, by reading level, again, so you can produce the most effective and suitable source material for your student. Under Topic Finder, there's a little bit of a data visualization here. If a student is looking for a topic to write about or to research, again, I put in kind of a more ambiguous term here, Iron Maiden. That could be either a heavy metal band from England, or it could be a medieval torture device. So you want to make sure that when you're searching under the search results here, this data visualization kind of gives you kind of an idea of the breadth of material available. So under Iron Maiden, there's going to be more articles available that focus on London, England, and the members of the band, as well as the rock group, music group. So if you are looking for information on the medieval torture device, I suppose you could go to the death tile right there. Kind of morbid, I'm sorry about that. But yeah, this is a good illustration of a kind of a data visualization that is geared for students. It's not too difficult to conceptualize and to understand what's going on here. This is Explora. Explora is found in our database page next to EBSCO. I think this is great. I'm going to focus on this one for educators. I think that it's a really important tool that we provide, a really important database we subscribe to for our customers. Under curriculum standards, you can go and look at the Oklahoma curriculum standards for each grade and then for each subject. That way you can ensure that the curriculum or the coursework you're producing is aligned with the curriculum. Again, you can use this as kind of an EBSCO search field for articles, but for the purpose of this presentation, I'm going to look at this as for educators, tools for educators to use. So again, we have for educators here, and we're going to use that. And then you can go to lesson plans down here. And then the next slide will kind of show you what that looks like. So I think I put in STEM, we're going to look, so that's science, technology, engineering, and math. And then this is what it looks like when you click on that. So all these articles are, if they're not step-by-step assignments, assessments, handout, curriculum, then they present lesson plans, like right here. This article presents a lesson plan, this article presents a lesson plan. This article discusses the presentation of solar energy. So they're not all going to be the same, but they're going to kind of be really, important tools in your toolbox if you're creating a lesson plan, or if you're putting together anything for a student, maybe for your child that's being homeschooled or is learning virtually. You can always look at this and ensure that what they're learning not only aligns with curriculum standards in Oklahoma, but you can perhaps put together your own lesson plan and your own coursework as kind of a supplement to what's being taught virtually or remotely in the classroom. And again, Lexile reading score over here, you can limit which articles appear by those ranges. So you're not putting together a high school lesson plan for a 5th grader. All right, now we're going to go back to issues and controversies. This is again, there's a lot of different tools and features on this database. We looked a little bit at the primary source documents earlier. Now we're going to look at lesson plans under tools for educators. It's under curriculum tools. This is a drop-down menu, and then tools for educators is on the right. And here you can see different topics. I didn't capture the whole screen, but you can see kind of different things that are germane to current events or hot topics in the media, things that people might be passionate about, animal rights, censorship. It's really kind of a wide breadth of topics. So for the next example, I clicked on energy. Excuse me. And over here, you have learning objectives, academic standards, resources, procedure, assessments, handouts. Assessments is like quizzes and tests. So that's already kind of created for you. And then there's further reading if you want to extend the lesson. Now this is a very kind of narrow topic under the umbrella of energy. We're looking at if the government energy policy focuses on expanding the nation's supply of fossil fuels, or if it should develop new technology for new renewable forms of energy. So let's look at what a handout might look like under this topic. This is a 9-page handout. I just captured the first couple pages. The topic of this handout is interpreting editorial cartoons, and we're looking at offshore drilling. So you have the instructions over here, and then you have about 2 or 3 more pages of actual political cartoons that the students are used to interpret. This is a kind of a fortuitous example because it also includes kind of some information and digital literacy skills as well. But again, this is a great tool for educators. You have your handout already preloaded, pre-made for you. You can go back to the curriculum standards to make sure that this aligns with Oklahoma standards for each grade and for each subject. That's actually one of the internal mechanisms within the Issues and Controversies is there are curriculum standards in there. So they use that for the information that they aggregate. But again, if you want to double check, you can go back to the curriculum standards and look at that to make sure that this is something that aligns within the standards of the grade you're teaching. There we go. All right, and then real quickly, we're going to look at a couple adult learning databases. These are for people looking to, maybe they're professionals looking to pivot careers, if they're looking for GED help. So even though it seems kind of narrow focus with adult learning, these databases still provide a pretty wide variety of features and serve a variety of audiences. So we're looking at Universal Class in Lynda.com, and I'll go back and we'll kind of look at the interfaces of those databases in our database page. But this is just kind of the main features and some of the differences. Universal Class is best suited for lifelong learners and hobbyists. It has a wide breadth of class options from spiritual studies and animal care to website design. I identify this database as best for learning soft skills. And when I say soft skills, what I mean is something different than perhaps learning C++ or Microsoft SQL or coding, computer language. This is kind of more for personal fulfillment or for interests. However, there are modules that will help adult learners kind of pivot careers or maybe get a leg up in their position that they occupy at present. Lynda.com is a little bit different. It's more designed for career enhancement and improving tech skills. There's a huge catalog of IT, coding, web design, computer language courses, project management certification courses, etc. This is I believe this is to be a better option for higher ed students, as well as for kind of hard or technical skills. And let's take a look at that real quick. We'll take a look at Universal Class real quickly. You've got to sign in just by creating a email. So if I can remember my login. Great. Okay, so sorry, I guess we won't look at that. Actually, maybe we can just create something, create an account real quick. Oh, no, I already created. I'm sorry. So we won't look at that one. If you want to follow up with me at the end, I can walk you through creating an account there. And then at the end of this presentation, I have my contact information. So if you want to reach out, we can look at that together on another Zoom call. Hopefully I can get into Linda though. Here we go. So up here you have popular learning paths, and like I said, that you can kind of see what I mean by more technical or hard skills. You can become a Python developer. There's 13 courses there, and at the end of all these courses, you actually get a certificate. Now, while that certificate isn't from an accredited university, I think that it does go quite far in demonstrating to your employer or whoever you're presenting the certificate to, the initiative you took, and that this is a very reputable, credible platform for adult learning. If you're taking courses, if you're in an IT field and you're taking courses to better your education and to better your skill sets, I've heard personally that goes a long way with employers from different customers that I've helped use this. So again, kind of more focus on IT stuff. You have web design, essential training, HTML, but also there's some graphic design courses. You have branding for designers, print production. Down here you got CSS, that's another computer language. And then under here, under library, you can kind of look at an alphabetical list of all the topics. It's a very, very robust database. We really like it. We use it at the library for continuing education. It's not our primary source, but we use it to supplement some of our continuing education requirements. As you can see, the course catalog is absolutely expansive and frankly huge. So if you have any questions about that going forward, please let me know. Like I said, at the end of this presentation, I provide my email address and phone number, so if anyone wants to follow up, then I'm certainly available. And then here we have Learning Express. Learning Express is a little bit different. I don't want to use the word remedial, but it's perhaps for learners of maybe differentiated learning or learners whose skill sets aren't quite as advanced as Lynda.com requires. You have under these modules, you have career preparation. You can start a new career, advance in your current field, adult core skills, popular software skills. This module mostly focuses on Microsoft Office and some limited graphics and illustration programming. It's not near as robust as Universal Class or Lynda.com. And so let's take a look at that real quick as well. Under career preparation, so you can prepare for different industry exams, cosmetology, culinary arts. The prep is general. It's not, each state board has kind of a different exam to be certified in that state. So this isn't going to focus on one particular state's requirements. It's going to be kind of a more general preparation for an exam. However, like I said, I've heard from customers personally that have used it, and they've had great success after using these courses to take a board certified exam. Adult core skills. You can build up on your math skills, become a better reader, speaking, writing, and grammar. Again, this is kind of tailored for perhaps people just kind of entering the job market or entering their first leg of a career. Some kind of the more general skills that for some people are more difficult to hone than others. So this provides a really kind of a supportive scaffolding for that for those individuals. And then, like I said, under Popular Software Skills Center, it's mostly going to be Microsoft Office. You're going to have some other limited computer graphics and illustration programming courses, as well as operating system. This is understanding your operating system is kind of more of an overview. It's not necessarily much of by way of practices or skill building. But again, this is really important for people just first entering the job market, or if they need a little bit of help kind of mastering some of the basic office skills, and this is great for those individuals as opposed to a Lynda.com course. And I think that's all I have. Here's my contact information over here. If you, I'm probably easier to get a hold of email rather than the phone number. I'm away from the desk, but I have my email open all day. You probably heard the ding a minute ago. I got one. So yeah, I'm available all the time, and I'm happy to take any time, all the time that you might need to explore these databases. I'm also available for book a librarian appointments if you want to sit down, or the new sit down, a Zoom meeting for 30 minutes or an hour, and we can kind of go through one or more of those databases more granularly and kind of more in depth. So with that, I'm going to turn back over to Becky. I finished a little bit early. Like I said, I talk fast. I'm sorry. If anyone missed anything, please chime in with any questions. And thanks for